Welcome to another episode of Modern Block. Thank you for joining me today. So today I thought I'd go through the world rankings. So the main reason for this is I feel that they have got a lot of media attention at the moment. They definitely, people are questioning their validity. So I've decided to kind of like go through the current way it's done, how FIFA does it, and then obviously my opposing option. So this is just how I think it is, but I'd please love you to, before you get into it, comment, like, share, subscribe, and please down below give your opinion of how the ranking should be in your opinion, because obviously this is just my idea of how I can do it. So the main argument for the Rugby World Cup ranking system is the following. The world's best team can fall to second or third or fourth just because of the teams they play, the regularity that they play, if they play slightly less games in a year, for example. All of those will make the world's best team drop, even though they haven't lost to the guy who's over thing. That's the one problem. The second problem, playing more games definitely gives you an advantage ranking-wise. And you see this every year around the Six Nations. Obviously, all those teams are playing, and their rankings go up, and the Southern Hemisphere teams drop quite a bit. And then it rebalances itself a little bit in the Rugby Championship, but effectively, we play slightly less games a year. The Six Nations is 6 teams, we're only 4, so it happens that way. That's how it is. So every year that's affected. Obviously, it balances itself out in the World Cup years, and with the tour at the end of the year, we normally try and balance it out, but it doesn't, in my opinion, balance out every year. And you can see that in the fact that obviously every team doesn't play the same amount of games, and that disproportionates the rankings. It definitely does. Obviously, the other big factor here is if you're playing the world's best team every week, you cannot rise as much as a team who's playing maybe, on average, playing fourth, they play between 3rd and 10th. So that is also an important factor. The fact of the matter is the Six Nations has got a couple of weaker teams compared to the Northern Hemisphere's Rugby Championship. Even though some people might argue Australia and Argentina, even South Africa sometimes, are not high ranked, they are still outstanding teams, and the last World Cup proves it. The top 4 were semi-finalists from Southern Hemisphere. I'm sorry to say, I know the Northern Hemisphere is much stronger than they were in 2015, but there has never been an all Northern Hemisphere final, so you have to, at the moment, it still skews Southern. Even though things are changing, it still skews Southern. So that means that every point on offer in a Rugby Championship game is exceptionally valuable. I think this affects the way coaches pick teams. It hurts the Southern Hemisphere in the way that they have to make sure that every game is a must-win. So, let's get into it and explain how the World Rugby rankings are done. So the World Rugby rankings is a little bit complicated, but effectively, they take the current ranking points of each team, give a +3 advantage to whichever team is home, and then they subtract the 2 from one another. The team with obviously which team is in favour, then they can gain points, and the team who are lower can gain obviously more points at a ratio that they give. It's between effectively a 2-point swing in either way, with the one sharing the lower team sharing getting the lion's share if they win, whereas the other team will get obviously a smaller portion of that. So there is a little bit of taking into account obviously a higher ranked versus lower ranked team playing, but it still, in my opinion, isn't completely fair. They also bring in a 1.5 point addition, multiply whatever result they get by 1.5 if the win is over 15 points, which I do like. I think that makes a bit of sense. But yeah, so that's kind of the basics of it. It does, so as you can see there, the big things they do take into account is the size of the win. They do take current rankings into account. So yes, the one thing that they do kind of counter, in my opinion, is that it does, there are fewer points on offer if you're playing weaker teams. But the fact of the matter is, there aren't that many fewer points, and there's still quite large gaps in between 10 and 1. So there is still a lot of points on offer on some wins that definitely can jump you a couple of positions maybe when you don't really deserve it. So that's the way that the World Rugby does it. FIFA has a little bit of a different idea. What they the points on offer is effectively the result, which is given a number value, effectively 0 being a loss, 1 being draw, 2 being a win, and so on, times the importance of the game. So they rank the effectively home versus friendlies versus competition versus World Cups are given a number value, multiplied by the confederation's rating, so the difficulty of that confederation, then multiplied by 200 times 200 minus the ranking of the team you're playing. So what effectively means is, if say now Portugal, I think are third, I don't know, I'm not a soccer fan, but effectively, let's say Portugal were third, they would be given 197 points there, multiplied obviously by all those other numbers I've just given. The things that does definitely give is it gives a huge amount of points to if you're beating a team above you, but it still gives you points if you beat a team below you, which is but it does at least give a little bit of a sway to the conference that you're in, which is I think a big factor. At least it does help. So harder conferences obviously get more points, and that is calculated. Obviously that can also lead to disputes between countries feeling that their conference is harder than others, something that the Southern Hemisphere and the Northern Hemisphere and the top 14 Heineken Cup, the Super Rugby always argue. So I'm just obviously giving local clubs, but same with Six Nations and Rugby Championship will argue which is the more tougher competition, and that argument will go down for years. So yeah, that's how FIFA does it. There are benefits to it, but I don't think it's the actual answer. So my opinion and my option is I want to simplify the whole process. It sounds crazy, but I want to simplify it down. Effectively, take all the current rankings and give the world, so currently Ireland, top points. Let's give them 100, for example. I'm just starting with obviously an arbitrary number. 100. Everybody below and above that, give them their current points. We can round them and all that. So the current points that they've got in the world rankings. We'll keep the world rankings as they are right now. But then, what we need to change and where I think it'll be slightly different is the points and offer calculation is slightly different. Very simple. You get a point if you beat a team above you. You lose a point if you lose to a team below you. That's the only way it works. So and you'll get 1.5 if you win over 15 points. So that's the other side of it. The main reason for this is the benefits I think it gives is, yes, there are more points on offer still for more games being played in a year. That's true. But it doesn't matter, because if you're the best team in that tournament, you're not getting any more points. If you win all your games, you stay where you are. So some people might argue that that's not fair, but the fact of the matter is that you haven't beaten any teams better than you. If you lose, you will drop, which does balance out the system. If you win, you go up. Obviously, if you're only beating teams. So that what the difference that it effectively does is teams in the Southern Hemisphere playing, for example, the All Blacks, which regularly win, they have an outstanding win ratio, will not lose points for losing to them, but will gain. And obviously, yes, some people might, now you have to obviously have the point that the New Zealanders might not gain points, but that's obviously going to be balanced out with tours and things where they will play the best, and you will at some point play the best team and go up. The best team in the world will lose and go down. So that's the whole idea, that the way that you only can ever pass the world's best team by beating the world's best team. No other way. That's the only way. And I think that's the most important factor here. You cannot claim the crown without beating the best team in the world. And the fact that it's also very important to understand that you can't just have a fluke game and beat the All Blacks or Ireland and then jump above them. No, there has to be a case of you'll have to win a couple of games in a row by good margins if you want to jump yourself a bunch of points. And I think after a year or so, the log will really balance itself out, and it will give a much more accurate representation of teams who are consistently winning against teams above them, or beating everybody and not losing, because that's obviously what the whole point of the rugby world best team in the world is. Yes, you have your off days, but consistency throughout the season is important here. 1 or 2 losses won't affect this rating system. It's much more important for a consistent, strong season than it is about 1 or 2 games jumping you up a couple positions here and there. So yeah, that's my kind of just simple world ranking system. Some people might find it's too simple, but I think it answers a lot of problems, and I think simplifies it so that the common man can work out, is there points on offer for this game, yes or no? Which is obviously important for us, as we are a part of this. As fans, we want to know what's going to happen to our team. How important is this game? And I think it'll give a lot more relevance to world rankings. As world rankings are followed at the moment heavily by the avid fans, where I think it can become a much more, everybody knows this is what's on offer. It can become a bit more important discussion point before games and during games. So yeah, I think that's really where I want to go with it. So thanks guys, I hope you liked this video. If you have your opinions, your ranking systems, changes to mine, fixes to make it even better, let me know down below, and let's sort this out.